If you're ADHD like me, that is autistic and ADHD, you know what it's like to be pulled between two different extremes. The autistic side often wants structure, routine, predictability, and controlled or minimal sensory and social input. Whereas the ADHD side wants constant stimulation, novelty, impulsive actions, introductions to new situations, experiences, and interactions with people. And they're constantly vying for control. And here we are in the middle, struggling with these two different extremes, pulling us in two different directions. And when one wins out of the other, we suffer. The ADHD side might decide to stack a series of, let's say, social interactions in a row without any time in between to recover. And the autistic part of our brain gets overwhelmed, shuts down, maybe has a meltdown. And if it continues, we end up burning out and needing multiple days to recover. And we might not even realize that we've tipped over into overwhelm until it's too late. The ADHD side is hitting the gas well before we know that we need to hit the brakes. Then if the autistic side is the part that's winning over, we might just stay in a very rigid, narrow box and not come out of it. We'll spend a whole weekend video game binging by ourselves and then get to the end of it and think, what did I accomplish? I have not interacted with anybody. I've been very socially isolated. I didn't spend my time really wisely, and then spiral, and you might get depressed or anxious. And so when one wins out over the other protests or has a reaction, and then we have to backpedal or try to compensate for that to make sure that the other part of our brain is the needs that it has are met. And nobody hands us an instruction manual for this. We have to figure it all out on an individual basis. Everybody's individual needs are going to differ. So something that works for somebody else is not necessarily going to work for you. You have to keep throwing things at a wall and seeing what sticks in terms of what's the perfect balance. What is the right balance of stimulation and what is the right balance of routine and predictability and structure? And for me, that structure or that balance looks like I work during the working week and I have one or two social engagements on the weekend with plenty of time in between to recharge, doing a self-care activity or something that's restorative. For me, that might be reading a book or a comic or playing a video game or hanging out with my dogs. That is what I found works best for me. Anything less can be sometimes demoralizing because I feel very isolated if I don't get that social engagement. Anything more and I get overwhelmed. And I keep my social engagements or my stimulating activities to, let's say, 1 to 3 hours max. If I go beyond that, there's a real risk I'll get overwhelmed, especially if I don't have time afterward to recharge with a self-care activity. Another way to manage these conflicting desires is to do energy accounting. It's a concept that Maya Tudor, a psychologist, came up with. She's autistic. And she recommended that you have two columns, withdrawals and deposits. What withdraws from your energy and what deposits into your energy, what is restorative. And then doing a tally of them, adding some kind of numerical value of your own choice to each of those activities and tallying it, and then seeing if you're in excess, are there too many withdrawals and not enough deposits, and then balancing it by subtracting some withdrawals and adding some deposits, making sure you have a good even balance of activities that are draining and activities that are restorative. Again, it's very much experimental here. You're trying to figure out what works for you and checking and recalibrating constantly until you find the right balance. Trial and error, it'll get you there eventually. Have you struggled with these conflicting impulses as an ADHDer? I would love to hear from you.